what we do and how we respond to this. And I think the clue to what we should do was given this Saturday when...
You're being endorsed, Paul.
I'll take that as an endorsement.
Yeah.
Okay, so get back track. Last Saturday, 100,000 of us marched through central London, and we were there just to give a simple message that we want to stay in the EU. But as things happened, there is another message. Because of the dreadful events that happened in Westminster on the previous Wednesday, just a week ago, it became more than that. It became a day on which we said to the terrorists, to the demagogues, to the political opportunists, and even to the Daily Mail, that we won't be silenced, that we will continue to stand up for... that we will continue to stand up for the open, welcoming society that we live in and which we will defend. And we will continue to fight for international collaboration, for cooperation and for solidarity across Europe and beyond. So let's not forget that when the EU was founded, it wasn't founded to increase share prices. It was founded to secure peace in Europe after World War II. And over the years, it has done that remarkably well, so well that it's taken for granted. And we've seen that first in Western Europe, and then more recently in the countries of Central and Eastern Europe, which until 2 decades ago were part of the communist bloc. But we don't need to look as far away as Poland or the border with Ukraine to see what the EU does. Right within the UK, we have the case of Northern Ireland, where the membership of the UK and Ireland within the EU has been one of the major pillars that underpins the peace process in Northern Ireland, that and the European Convention on Human Rights. Unfortunately, our government is now intent on kicking away one of those pillars and has declared its content to kick away another. It hardly strikes me as the kind of example that a government that was elected on the basis of being a steady pair of hands should be setting. So what about the Brexit deal? We've heard a lot. First of all, we could stay in on some sort of Norway option, be fully members of the single market, and then it became access to the single market, and then the benefits we already have, or perhaps no deal is better than a bad deal. So it's really hard to figure out what's going on, what this deal will be. We don't know, nobody knows at this stage. What we do know is that it will be not as good a deal as the deal we already have as members of the EU. Sorry about that. So what do we do now? Well, Theresa May has told us to unite behind this Brexit process. I think, of course, the country should stay united. We need to work together with everyone on this, but we cannot unite behind this dangerous path that she has chosen. We cannot unite behind a Brexit that will break up the United Kingdom and will weaken the European Union. We must hold the government to account and hold our parliament to account. And how can we do that? Well, one thing we need to do is to make sure that one option, which is staying within the EU, is still always on the table. How do we do that? I think we need to look back at what's happened over the last few months. It's been chaotic, it's been quite painful. We've seen political disintegration, we've seen a cacophony of voices, but we've also seen some very good, solid achievements. We've seen marches with tens of thousands of people taking place, people getting involved in campaigns who've never been involved in politics before. We've seen the biggest number 10 petition ever. We've seen Parliament, the government forced to give Parliament a vote. We've seen those votes happen, and unfortunately we didn't get the amendments we wanted. But we did see some major concessions, and one thing that's come out of that is that MPs up and down the country have had many thousands of people writing them emails, letters, holding meetings, letting them know how we feel about this. And that's very important, because whatever else they can say, they cannot say that the whole country, the 65 million, are behind this process. So looking ahead, what do we do next? Well, what we can remember is that there are elections coming up soon. There are local elections and mayoral elections happening on the 4th of May. And everyone, whether you're an EU national, whether you're a UK citizen, a Commonwealth member, Commonwealth citizen, is entitled to vote in these elections. And I suggest that you make sure that you're registered to vote, and do that by April the 13th, I think is the deadline. You can do that on the gov.uk website. And then get out and vote for a candidate who supports the UK remaining in the EU. We have 18 months to change this, but a lot can happen in those 18 months, and we need to make sure we are the change. We go out there, we make our case, we keep the option of staying in the EU on the table. And we in Cambridge Stays are going to continue this campaign for as long as it takes. 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, if we're campaigning to get back in the EU, we will do it. So my question is, 40 years maybe. I really hope it doesn't take that long. But however long it takes, I hope that you all will be with us on this journey. Thank you.
Because she was a Remainer, and does she want to be a better man than Mrs. Thatcher? I think that's the reason she wants.
I think she does see this probably as an opportunity. She sees it's her choice. We've got a different choice, and we need to make sure in the end our choice prevails. So I'd like to hand over to our next speaker, Julian Hubbard, who's a former MP and a Liberal Democrat.
Well, thank you all very much for coming here. Today is a day that will go down in the history books. People will struggle in years to come to understand how any country can do something so utterly starved to itself voluntarily. People will struggle to understand what sort of mentality could do that. And today is a day to be sad, and a day to be angry. Both of those emotions are there, and both of those emotions are quite right. I feel sad that my country is going to start the process of ripping my EU citizenship away from me, that we are sending a message that we are closed to the rest of the world, that we are sending a message of support to those who hate foreigners, who hate immigrants. I'm really sad about that. And I'm angry with those who got us here, angry with the leaders who knew that they were lying about what they could say, the people who voted for this referendum that most of us knew would be harmful, the people who then silently followed. To watch the Tories and Labour follow the UKIP whip on votes on this was one of the most upsetting experiences I can remember in Parliament. We should remember that anger. We should also, though, not be angry with all those who voted to leave. We should understand why it was that they were led astray, why they believed much of what was said to them. They are the victims as much, if not more, than us. Because many of the predictions we made during the campaign about what would happen to the economy are coming true. And it's people who are struggling more, who are on lower incomes, who are finding things tougher, who voted for a change because they weren't happy with the way things were, and who are now being hit and will continue to be hit even harder. They deserve our sympathy and understanding, not our anger. And those harms are very real. Prices going up in for food, for all sorts of other goods, making it harder for people here. Businesses talking about leaving. The rise in race hate that we have already seen. Our NHS struggling to attract people who it desperately needs to work here. All of these are problems we predicted, were told were lies, were told were Project Fear, and which were in fact chillingly true. The breakup of the United Kingdom is looking more and more likely, with Scotland, with Northern Ireland having huge problems. It's not very nice to say, I told you so, and I wish we didn't have to say it. But what's clear is that even those who've argued for Brexit are beginning to feel quite nervous. That's why they're saying that the people to blame if it's not a success are us. It's very bizarre. They say if we don't champion Brexit now, then if it doesn't work, it's our fault. We told them not to jump off the cliff. It's hardly our fault if it hurts on the way down. They're terrified. They never meant to win it. They meant to blow the bloody doors off. They did not mean to win it. And it's going to be utterly tragic. What can we do now? There are a few interesting ideas. I love the idea of associate membership of the EU, associate citizenship. I would go for that. I would like to still be a European. I am still a European. And I'll support anything that helps me to hang on to that. And there'll be a vote in Parliament. But having seen what we've seen in the last few months, I have no faith that Parliament is going to do the right thing. We will see the same pathetic behaviour we saw so far. The one thing which I'm still standing out for, which my party has been pushing for, is the idea that there should be a vote among the public. I didn't like the first referendum, but if we had a referendum to say we should go somewhere, we the people should have a say over where we go. That is the one thing which is going to save us. And if those who disagree, if those who want to see Brexit really have confidence that things will go well, they'd be okay with us having a vote as well, because they would surely want to trust the public rather than put their faith in a single elected individual. But they won't do it. So we have to shout about that. So yes, vote according to this. This matters. Make it an issue in these local elections, all other elections. Keep the pressure on. Let's hope we can avoid wandering out of the EU. But if necessary, I'll be here with you to fight to get back in. Thank you for coming.
Hello, so I'm Lewis Herbert, I'm the Labour leader of the City Council, point this up? Yeah. Thank you, can that work better? Okay. So, it is for us also a sad day in Cambridge. We represent a wider community here that is still committed to the rights of our non-UK EU citizens staying here, to the rights of a university that relies on international links, to the rights of EU citizens, EU students to come to this city, to the rights of a single market, because that is what we had and that is what we still need. I take the point that it's a sad day, but I will be fighting for all of the things that we wanted that we had in Europe still. So I think our MPs and Daniel Zeitler will be there fighting for the rights of EU citizens who are here to stay, and I see several that I recognise here, and it's great to see the age range that we've got here too. And we just have to fight for Cambridge, for the 74%. So I accept the point that Julian's made, that this is the wrong decision, and that Brexit shouldn't be happening. But there has to be a fight to expose which direction the Tories are going in. There is no leadership on their side, and we have to fight for the single market. We have to fight for avoiding all of the barriers that the UK could put up against free trade. We have to fight for the rights of all of the freedom of movement on which our economy relies. As Julian has said, 12% of the people who work in Edinburgh are from other EU countries. A lot of the people that I've been speaking to today in the City Council also come from the EU. This is an international city. I urge us to keep a broader alliance in this city, and I urge us to work with our MP as our representative in Parliament to put Cambridge's point across. We have not lost the argument, we continue. The fight goes on.
We're determined to get the whale vote, at least, if nothing else. Wales might have voted exit, but I don't know about the actual citations. I'll stop trying to make jokes. Thank you very much for coming here tonight. As we said, the campaign will go on. This is not the end. This is the beginning of the next phase. And so over the next few months we will have events. Some will be invitations, some of them will be public events. There will be events we're running with the campaign group Britain for Europe and other organisations across the country. So you will be hearing a lot from us. We'll also be hopefully soon setting us our organisation Cambridge Stays Up as a membership organisation that you can actually join. So to put us in a firmer position for a long campaign, which this is clearly going to be. So we invite you all to get involved. Most of you have seen our Facebook group, our Twitter page, and hopefully soon we will have a website as well to go with that. So I look forward to working with you and campaigning with you all over the next coming years. Thank you very much.